Is 2023 going to be your year in KDP? Well, I sure hope so. So today I'm going to be talking about what my KDP strategy is for this upcoming year. And also I have a goal of 50,000 in profit. So that's not just sales, that's including, taking out ads. So my goal is to hit 50,000 this year for profit, like overall, including all my expenses. And I'm going to tell you how I am planning to do that. Good morning, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for everyone out there. I'm Ashley with Publish with Ashley. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I always have great tips and tricks and niches and all sorts of fun stuff. I talk a lot about KDP and also Etsy. I'm really going to push Etsy this year, but we're not going to talk about that on this show. We're going to talk about my strategy for KDP and what I'm going for and what I think in general strategies are going to work. All right, so welcome everyone. And so I am going to go through, so this year, let me see. Last year I made about 40,000 in profit. This year I made about 33,000 in profit-ish. This year I moved. It was kind of a tough year for me, and I really didn't put in as much effort as I should until like the end of the year when I had time. So yeah, but this year my goal is to make over 50K or above in profit overall. And what am I going to do? So I sat down, and I think my New Year's resolution, I suppose, for my business was systems, systems, systems. Okay. So that's like my motto, my goal, whatever you want to call it. And what that means is I have discovered I looked back at my year, looked back at what I know, and I decided I have a lot of information in my head. Like I can look at covers, I can look at books, and I can generally tell you if they're going to sell. I mean, it's not 100%, but I have a pretty good instinct now. And so like I have systems, but my systems aren't necessarily efficient or organized or any of that sort of thing. So I really sat down and said, okay, what do I need to do to create kind of like really, like the model 1, 2, 3, what am I going to do and how am I going to do that? And now take this for what it is. My system may look different than your system only because, you've got to make something that's going to work for you. So I really sat down and thought, well, what can I do that would work for me that I can be consistent on, and how am I going to do that, and how am I going to go about that? But I wanted to tell you the 3 things, and I guess it's kind of 4, but one of them is kind of, I'm not sure about things I'm going to focus on. Now, the first one in these systems that I'm going to create is I'm going to focus on really kind of, I think, 2 niches this year. I'm going to focus on children's books because I like them, I know them, I understand them. I have test subjects. I have a 9-year-old and some older kids. So I know, I have test subjects. I understand the market. So I'm really going to focus on 3 to 4 types of children's books. So, not just not, though I might do some medium content, but really I'm going to focus on kind of more like niche, like coloring books, that sort of thing. So I'm going to focus on like 3 to 4 types of color children's books. And then I'm going to focus on word searches. I found I really like word searches. Ones that I've put out there, I consistently get not a ton of sales, but anyone I put out there, I think every word search I put out there that's been on there for a little bit, I've gotten at least 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 sales a month. And so, if I can put something out there that I know is going to get consistent sales month to month, even if it's not a lot, I'm okay with that. I kind of enjoy making them. I've created a system now to make them that is really pretty efficient. So that took me some time to figure out how to do that, but I can create them really fast now. And I like to focus on unique and different niches in word searches. So it's not your typical, they're pretty darn unique and very niche down. So we're not talking, there's not a huge audience, right, for that specific niche down thing, but there is an audience that's consistently looking for it, even if it's small. Okay, so those are my 2 niches, broad niche categories that I'm focusing on. I'm only going to focus on 2. That's my plan. I know me, and something catches my attention and I decide to try it just because, but that's okay. Those are what my plan is, to focus on 2 specific niches. And I think that's what you should do. Focus in on something that you can, like children's books. There's a ton within children's books you can do. It's not just 1 or 2 or 3 types of books. There's probably hundreds of types of categories within that range. So you can focus on something like that. Pick your focus for the year and something broad enough that you can move around within that niche. Okay, the next one is Pinterest. I was really good at Pinterest for a while there, and I lost it. It got, I don't know, maybe it just got too much and I wasn't doing it consistently. I felt like it was a chore. So what I decided to do is, yes, sit down and create a system. I noticed this year that my sales at Christmas were not what I wanted them to be. And I honestly think it's because I did not do my Pinterest advertising. I just got too busy, too overwhelmed. And what the interesting thing is you create, like I got too busy in creating books and then I didn't advertise them, right? I didn't get them out to the world. So it's fantastic to create a bunch of things, but if you don't tell the world about them, they won't know about it. So I really thought that my sales at Christmas weren't what I wanted them to be. And it's because I kind of slacked off on Pinterest this year. And so I'm going to ramp that up and systematize it. I went through, and that's why I'm focusing on specific niches. So what I did is I'm going to do 10 pins a day. And I think this is doable because what I've done is I created on Canva pin templates for myself. And since they're in like children's books, I can create a set of pin templates and pretty much just put the book covers in. Like no matter what it is, I can stick the book cover in. That's kind of my goal. Now I might have to change up a few words or make 2 sets of templates. Maybe like one for kids coloring books and then one's for kids, whatever else I decide to do, right? But I can kind of use the basis and then just change up the wording and just kind of systematize it, put them in and get those 10 pins a day. And then not just stick one, like not just take Pinterest and put all that book, but like have a whole thing of them. And then once I have this big select, basically matrix of pins with different books. So, 10 pins, 10 different books, that's 100 pins, right? I can start just putting in one from each of those books each day. And then I have, 10 pins to put in. And then I have consistent Pinterest activity, which Pinterest loves. And then I also am not just putting the same pins out, right? And they're different books, similar niches in the sense they're all kids books, but it's kind of it's not the same thing, right? It's not the same picture. And Pinterest loves when you have new pictures, right? So different book, different little bit of wording, maybe a sprinkle or extra thing on Canva. Okay. So I systematized it. I'm also going to take, I did an analysis of my Pinterest boards and looked at everything that I've ever pinned. And Pinterest tells you that they get better engagement on video pins. Totally true. So I found that from my own research that my video pins were the most impressions, the most people like them, that sort of thing, most engagement. And so all I'm going to do is take all of my pin templates and then create a video because Canva makes it really easy. You can just animate it and it'll animate it's not gorgeous, but it has movement. It'll cause somebody to look at it. So I'm experimenting with Canva, making them about 10 seconds long. I've gotten 6 seconds pretty good, but I'm going to fiddle with it and see if I can get 10 seconds because I think that's a nice ideal watch time. 2 or 3 seconds for it to catch somebody's eye, and then they stare at it for a little bit, try and figure out what it is. And then, by 10, that's about 10 seconds. Maybe that's 8, but that's what I'm trying to get to. So I'm going to create 10, to create video pins for everything. Then what I'm experimenting on is you've probably heard of TikTok. Well, there's a thing called Book Talk. I know a lot of authors, a lot of people who are using TikTok, Book Talk, they're really doing well in it. And so I decided it's a cheap myself a course to read through it to understand how people are using TikTok with books. So it's been interesting so far. I don't know. I can't say I'm probably the best person on that, but maybe those Pinterest videos that I create, I can reuse that on Book Talk. So maybe that's what I have to do. And then that would be a nice reuse thing. I'm using it on Pinterest, which I know does work. And then I'm not recreating the wheel. I'm just using something on a different platform. So I'll have to work on that. The next thing I'm working on is A+ content, and not just doing A+ content, but what I've in my analysis of A+ content and what I know about marketing, it's all about telling a story. So what I'm going to focus on is in A+ content, not just creating a more visually appealing A+ content, but also creating a story. The story of your company or the story of you and the story of how your child, in my case, since it's children's books, is going to interact with these products and creating something compelling, because people like a story. They can identify with a story. It is hard to identify with a product because it's a thing, but people identify with other people or feelings or emotions. So I'm really going to try and work on creating visually appealing storytelling A+ content. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but I know that's what the direction I want to go with my A+ content. So as I develop and figure that out, I will let you all know. But that's what I really want to do, because I think selling is about giving someone a story, giving them something to attach themselves to emotionally, or they can identify with because it's similar, something like that. So that's what I'm going to try and work on. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm really going to work on my Amazon ads. I'm big on Amazon ads, but I've kind of become complacent. I just kind of put them out there and just let them do things. I need to follow my own advice and go in daily. But I've got to figure out what system is going to work for me. But I need to go in daily and optimize, or at least every other day, and try and work on my ads and decide how to create better ones or make better ones. The thing about ads is you've got to be consistent and patient. Some ads work, some don't. But if you have a lot to work with, you'll always have something to do, and you don't feel like you're just waiting on that one ad, because you're, managing, let's say, 100 ads. You might be waiting on 15 of them, 20 of them, but you're still actively engaged with 80 of them that maybe are working or need to be tweaked. So that's my plan for this year. I'm really going to work on systems. I'm going to work on niching down into just 2 categories, one that has a broad range appeal, in the sense children's books, there's a lot of various things in there. Word searches, there's definitely a lot of niches within word search, right? But I'm going to make unique and different things. I'm working on a Pinterest strategy. I'm trying to systematize it, and that helps by focusing on my niches so I can reuse the work and not have to recreate the wheel for every book. We'll see how TikTok goes. I don't know. We'll see. That's not my venue. I like Pinterest because I'm visual. I know TikTok is video, but it's not my thing. So I might just try and reuse Pinterest video pins for TikTok. A+ content, creating a story, making it appealing to the customer, identifying with the customer, having the customer identify with my product, and Amazon ads, re-engaging in consistency. So those are my goals. So let's see what I got. So I'm going to answer questions. So hopefully you guys got something from that. I think niching down, systems, getting the word out there, and making it just consistent with whatever you do. Okay, so Bailey says, Happy New Year. Is Book Talk a trademark? I don't think Book Talk is a trademark yet. You can check. I think it is considered a hashtag, but someone, I'm sure, is going to go around and try and trademark it. Who knows? Because there's the trademark crazy people. So I would look in tests, look in the UK system, and see if it's been trademarked yet. But I don't know if it might have been filed for, right? It takes a while to get a trademark. But I know it's a hashtag that is used in TikTok. Let's see. Yes, push Etsy together. I am totally, so for my Etsy store, I've gotten a website that I'm really just going to push to my Etsy store. I've gotten the Pinterest site, I guess, the name for it, email, Instagram, all the things. I've made my Etsy shop, though there's no products in it yet, but I have the product, the store name. I have the logos. I did all of that. So that's what I've done the past week. So I'm hoping, we'll see. I have a plan. We'll see how it works. Bailey says she stopped Pinterest because it's a chore, even use templates. Maybe Book Talk might be easier. I don't know. So that's what and maybe it's more effective because there's a lot more eyes on Book Talk, right? Or TikTok in general right now. I don't know. I know a lot of people doing really well with TikTok. Now, here's the thing that everyone tells me: you have to be creative, you have to be consistent. They say it doesn't take long once you kind of get your flow and your rhythm, as far as time per day to do it, but you have to do it, and you've got to be creative and willing to try new things. So that's why I don't know. We'll see about TikTok for me, but it's not my venue. It's not my thing, but we'll see. Maybe I can figure out my piece of TikTok, right? Link books to a themed website. Yep, I'm going to do that. How can we sell physical books on Etsy that we create without having to physically ship it? Oh, that's actually easy. Well, relatively easy. You can do it through various printers. Let's see, Lulu Express will do that. So the thing you have to do with Etsy is you have to inform Etsy you have a partner. In this case, it would be whoever is actually printing the book and shipping it. So Lulu Express. I'm trying to remember the other one. There's another good one, and I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to look it up. That's something I can actually do a show on, is how to do your books on Etsy without having you to physically ship it. You do have to have a print-on-demand partner, and you have to disclose that to Etsy, but that's perfectly okay. You just have to make sure you do that. And then I actually was talking to Etsy about having Amazon do it. You can, but I think it becomes more complex and not actually, it's not reliable shipping. So that's really what it came down to, was trying to have Amazon. It was not a good thing. But I can do a show on that because there are other print and demand places that do a good job. So that's something you can do on Etsy. Yes, I will do a show on that. Let me write that down. Etsy and books. Like, there's a few that you can use. And I know, actually, I talked to a woman, it was about 6 months ago. She does, I want to say, she has a very ethnic shop. And it's got a ton of notebooks that she designs, and she actually draws all the art, and then she puts the art on notebooks, and she has a really big following because art, and it's very niche, because it's this very specific, like, ethnic type look, and it's really pretty. I think it's beautiful, and she does really well, and she does that with notebooks. And so I was talking to her. She actually closed her shop for Christmas because she didn't want to have to do anything with it. But, up to a certain point, and you can't ship all that close to Christmas anyway. About 2 weeks before Christmas, you can't ship anything anyway that will get to anyone. So she had closed down her shop for Christmas. And so I haven't seen if she's come back up again. We'll have to see. Yeah, let's see. Other questions. Happy New Year to those in Belgium. And any questions? You guys have anything you guys want to focus on this year, or a certain monetary goal you're looking for? I obviously can't promise any of that, but it's good to shoot for something. I think it's good to aim and see where you can get to, rather than, and you want to be, I'm kind of in between. You want to be realistic in the sense it's something you can achieve, so that you'll work hard to get that, but not so unrealistic, or not so low that the bar is kind of low. So it's somewhere in between, right? Not too high where you're like, oh, I'm going to make $1 million this year, which is perfectly possible if you think you can do it. But if you don't think you're doing it, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, right? So it's somewhere where you think is possible, but is reach. Okay. I would like to see some examples of good A+ content. Okay, that's a good one. A+ content. It is something, like I said, I'm going to start working on what I want to call, storytelling with A+ content. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I do. I've studied marketing. I have an MBA. Yay. I don't know it does you any good other than, this useless information like storytelling sells. But what does that mean? That's where I've got to dig in and figure out what that means. I know it's like, a lot of things, but trying to translate that into actual action and works, and what does that look like? That's something I do have to do. But I know I think it's going to work because it's worked in every other advertising platform, out there, that storytelling aspect. So how can you bring that to KDP? How can you bring that to A+ content? Okay. You have the social media, sorry, website, Zazzle store, Amazon books, but no plan on how to connect it all together. I think that's a consistent brand type problem. Like what does your brand stand for and what does it mean? So then you create things under that so you're known for something. I know that's one of the things in Etsy. I've been working with someone who said, what do you want to be known on Etsy for? But I think that's true of anything. What do you want to be known for? So I think bringing stuff together really means focusing on something, whether that's, and I like to think of it not just focusing on a product, but focusing on a target audience. If it's children's books, right? There could be broad. Is it 3 to 5 year olds? Is it educational products for 10 to 12 year olds? What is it, right? You have to kind of, I think, focus down on who that is, who's buying for that, and what does that audience need? Because with kids, there's like who's buying it, right? The parents or homeschooling parents or whatever, and the kids who need it. So you have to focus on fun for the kids, but then that educational aspect that the adults are looking for to like homeschool their children. There's that. Or if you're focusing on children's books, like picture books, are you teaching them something valuable about sharing or about being scared to go to the dentist's office the first time? So there's that addressing what the kids need to feel comfortable at the dentist, and then giving the problem to the parent who says, yeah, my child is upset at going to the dentist. This book will make them feel better. Right. So you've got that children's are an interesting target market, which is what I like. I like that target market because it's kind of a fun one to negotiate. But you could be more simple and just focus on, moms who need something, right? It just depends on, and moms who need something can be a pretty broad topic base, but it's a very focused audience. Let's see. Gifts and merch for a passionate hobby. Okay, as long as it's one hobby or a hobby that can be within itself. So if it's, I don't know, there's crocheting, right? I saw someone and they're really into crocheting. There is a lot of cool stuff out there for crocheting. So, you just have to focus. And maybe it's crocheting anime characters. I have no idea. that could be something. Should we have an email list per pen name for low content books? Seems hard when we have a ton of pen needs. Yes and no. I would say 1 or 2. That's why focusing down on specific niches is going to be a little easier because you can be known for something. You can create that pen name. Like, for example, my word search stuff, I'm having a consistent pen name, but I am not doing an email list. I am not doing a giveaway. I am not doing anything for it. I literally am going to have these word searches out there for the quirky, unique stuff. And that's my whole plan for it. I know that it's not going to make millions of dollars, and I'm okay with that. But my kids stuff, I don't know. I'm going to see how it goes and decide if I have kind of this idea, and if I get a lot of sales, then I might decide to create an email list for it. It just depends on how you want to look at it, but you have to factor in your time no matter what you want to do. So I would say probably not having more than 1 to 2. And that's about all you can probably manage. And it would be easier if you just focused on one. You could create books outside that, but maybe make one you're kind of focused, build one at a time, right? Build one, become known for something. And then once you've got that established, you can build something else. I think we try and build too many things we're trying to create that broad base. Well, the broad base might not have email lists, right? The broad base might just be a broad base. And then as you go up the pyramid, you're going to have, maybe 2 email lists and then your main focus niche or something like that, right? Time. What's worth your time? I've decided to focus on these kids' books, focus on Pinterest advertising to generate interest. And then if I get a lot of interest and a lot of purchases and things like that, yeah, I might develop an actual brand under that with the email list and all the things. And I think that is definitely important. But since I have one brand that I do the email, I have two, but one I kind of don't play with anymore. I don't do anything with anymore. But one I do have an email list and I keep track of, and I add stuff, and I email them, and it's pretty set now. I don't have to do a lot for that now. So that one's easy. And then, so now I'm trying to build this children's brand that we'll see. We'll see if I decide to do an email list with it. I need to establish goals and plans like you did, but by the end of the year, I want to be at 1,000 a month. That's a good goal. I think that's a good goal. And I think it's completely doable. It took me a while to get there just because I was all over the place. I admit it. I was here and there and everywhere in between. I was that person who threw like multiple, launches of spaghetti at the wall. And then I kind of found my place. Like, I do love children's books because I have children. I can look at children's books now and be like, that's a good one or that's a bad one. And, have a decent amount of success now. I put up about 10 new children's books in the middle of December. I knew they weren't going to hit the December, Christmas stuff, but they were starting for like Valentine's Day and things like that. And so I've already seen sales on about 8 of those. So that's pretty good. And then the ones that aren't selling by themselves, I'm going to look into Amazon ads and see if that can get them going, or if, they might be duds. And that's okay. That's all right. All right. Yes, that's what you're doing too, just throwing spaghetti at the wall. I think there's good to that. Don't just be sad or upset about throwing spaghetti at the wall, because it gives you a few things. One, it gives you experience in a wide variety of areas. The second, it does give you experience to create graphics and design and just your process. It also gives you the idea of what you like and what you don't like, so that you can. The only thing that is bad about that is if you keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and never change your process. So you need to decide, okay, of what I threw out there, what did I enjoy? What actually sold? And then decide, why did it sell? Which is hard, but you can look. There are, like, as I've done this, like when I did my cover, like look at covers and say why people would pick things, why wouldn't. As I did it more and more and kind of analyzed other people's work and compared it to my own work, and then what sold and what didn't sell, I could see patterns. Things I've talked about, being able to see it, being able to convey what it is, what your product is from that tiny little picture. That's important. And there's small and big things about that. So just understanding that has helped me create better covers, right? And then you create better interiors. And so it's all good. Good. I'm glad it helped you and gave you clarity. Thanks for your useful talk. I hope it was. So keep your brain young. That's a good name. I'm boring. I just put my name. I see really great names. I'm on Peloton. Anyone doing Peloton? So my husband got into it. So he made me he made me like my Peloton name. And so it's just like Ash Schmidt. I'm so boring. So anyway, I'm Ash Schmidt. You're on Peloton. That's me. I'm slow, but I enjoy it. It's kind of fun. So I'm apparently very boring. He like changed his to like Dare to be Daniel or Dare something. I don't know. Mine's boring. Anyway, all right. Bailey says, too many shiny objects. Focus on growing KDP before growing in Etsy. The only thing I would say is I totally agree, but if there's anything you can reuse to put on Etsy, that's a consideration. If it's, let's say you're making, I don't know, word searches don't do really well. Puzzles, maybe puzzle games, activity books for kids. That is something you could reuse and put on Etsy probably. Certain planners do well on Etsy. So it just depends what you're doing. Do consider the fact of reusing something you're doing on KDP and putting it on Etsy. That is a lot less work. Though you do have to create a store and be consistent and all the things. But that's something to think about. Once you've maybe got, a bunch of products, then opening a store on Etsy with those products might make sense. All right. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I'm going to go off and get some lunch now. Thank you for likes, subscribes, comments. I love comments. Please do comment, especially if you're live. Comment like after, so that I'm trying to grow my channel this year. I have, oh, let me tell you my plan for the channel. So if you're interested, so the middle of this year, I think once I get all my stuff and my systems working for KDP, my plan is to create a course on how to use free ebooks. So using the Kindle Select program and using the ability to create a free ebook to promote and advertise your low content business. So there's there's a lot to that, and so I put a big box around the things that you have to know. And then once you know all that, there's all sorts of cool stuff on the outsides of that, but you have to know kind of like the core box to be able to do that sort of strategy. So I'm going to create a course on that. And I'm hoping that is my plan for this year. So that's my big course thing. So I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel so that when I launch that, I can help you guys. All right. Thanks so much for being here. I really love being live. I love having you all here to ask questions. And I will be seeing you next week. All right. Bye.